You're watching Grassroots Resistance Collective, Texas grown, people powered, and unapologetically bold. We expose corruption, amplify real candidates, and give voters the truth the system tries to bury. No spin, no sellouts, just resistance. Let's get to work.
Good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It is February 3rd, 2026. Welcome back to the show. I am your host, Tovar, and I'm with my co host, Chastity. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. And I would like to introduce our guest, Maureen Galindo. She is running for Congress on the Democratic ticket. She's a first time congressional candidate, and she's running on decentralizing power, protecting autonomy, and getting corporations out of politics. Maureen Galindo, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to finally have you on the show. I've seen you around San Antonio a lot, causing a lot of ruckus. Good ruckus for sure.
Mhm.
But I believe that we need to hear from you. So, if you would like to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit who you are, and why you're running for Congress.
Sure. So, yeah, I'm Maureen Galindo, District 35 for Texas in Congress. I'm a single mom of 3 kids. It's my most primary role, right? Takes up most of my time. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I work at a nonprofit for women with complex trauma. And I've been doing activism work for 10 years here in San Antonio, specifically mostly around housing justice. I've helped build 3 tenant unions here in San Antonio, starting with Soapworks and Town Center United. Now those apartments are called Soap Factory, but they are the last naturally affordable apartments downtown San Antonio. Since the 70s, they've been housing the working class of downtown. So like the Riverwalk workers, they called themselves river rats, the hospital workers, hotel workers, the riverboat captains, all lived the mariachi, right? Like people who would like do mariachi downtown lived at Soap Factory, and then we all got displaced or priced out. So all of these people who maintain the structure of downtown got priced out. And so we started organizing. At the time, the mayor, Ron Nierenberg, had a housing policy task force he was putting together for what the housing plan would be under him. And we, as Soapworks residents, showed up to so many of those that we like heavily influenced the displacement portion of that. And then they created a rent relief policy for us. And I kind of jumped and clawed my way inside of that. I had to fight my way inside of that. So many meetings and emails to make sure that they were doing participatory policy. And that's what my big thing is how do we include the people most impacted by policy in the creation and implementation and evaluation of it so that we're getting the best value for our tax dollars. And I worked on that for about a year, like volunteered, had regular meetings with the city to really just shape that policy as best as possible for community distribution. And so that we could get data in return. Like these are the most vulnerable people in the city. Let's find out what's going on here with displacement. And we created a pretty okay policy. And then when COVID hit, the city kicked us out of it and just distributed it to the rest of the country. And that actually created the whole rent relief national program during COVID was from Soapworks and
Oh
Town
wow.
Center apartments. So yeah, that's like kind of my, I guess, success story with activism work, right? That brought eventually, it failed so many other places because it was never supposed to. It's a band-aid solution. That was the point of me being like, no, you can't just give out this money and then call it quits. We have to at least do something with it to figure out better solutions. So it failed a bunch of places. So they would have to send it back to the federal government, who kept bringing it to San Antonio. So like millions. I will say the landlords abused it so much,
Hmm.
and the government helped them do that. They would create forms where they just had to put in like 100 tenants, and then they would get like one fat check. And so that also, it's like, man, with politics and government and policy, it's just like, how do you create policy that actually benefits the people most impacted? Because it's like, no matter how hard we try, it always seems like the corporate business class is going to abuse it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's why for me, I'm so passionate about politics and running because it's like, how do we just empower as many people as possible to participate? Because that's the best solution I can think of to hold these corporate classes accountable, is that there's enough of us empowered to fight it.
Yeah. How did you get people motivated to actually do that for themselves?
At Soapworks and Town Center Apartments,
Yeah.
man, what's that book called? I had just lived in Portland, or I had just gotten displaced from Portland, Oregon. That's why I was so pissed off too, because I had just become a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and had just housing issues up there. So when I found out we were getting displaced, I was like, oh hell no. Like, this already just happened to me. We can't let it happen again. And now I know, like, for all of the privileges that I have, that was happening to me again,
Mm-hmm.
in less than a year, how much that was impacting everybody else who was living there. And so I just literally started talking to people. I had my 3 babies with me. They were like one, not even one, 4 and 6 at the time. And then we would just walk around, and I mean, I lived downtown. I felt like the luckiest person ever in this, like, and then it was 2 bedroom for 860. Can you imagine that downtown San
Downtown.
Antonio?
Yeah.
Yes. Now I think those ones go for like 13, 1400, probably even more. I don't
Probably
know.
more than that
But
for sure. Yeah.
yeah, this was 8 years ago. So I just thought I was so lucky. So I'll just walk around all the time, and I would just walk through the apartments and be like, hi, how are you? Hey, how long have you lived here? What do you think about the changes going on? And we would just start having conversations. And then there's the Knights of Columbus Hall. Is that what it is?
Hmm.
There's the Columbus Hall next door.
Yeah, because
The soap
I believe so.
factory that works.
Hmm.
That land is actually where the first Alamo is at. Did you know that?
So I was having a debate with somebody about this before,
Mhm.
and they were trying to tell me that didn't know what I was talking about. But I mean, I don't know where that came from, but yeah, I did know that.
You did know that?
Yes.
Yeah, on the riverboat ride.
Hmm?
They told us something about them moving the Alamo on the when we went on the riverboat ride.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I
it used
don't
to be
I don't remember.
right there where Town Center and that Christopher Columbus
Mhm.
Park is at. They
Mhm.
found artifacts. So yeah, billionaire Graham Weston demolishing it all and
Mm.
building over it is really losing a lot of artifacts and history too. So anyway, sorry, how I
Mhm.
got everyone involved was I met that guy, and he was so gracious and generous and offered his space. They have like a hall at the bottom, and we would just have like weekly meetings, and
Oh, wow.
we just kept having meetings. And people were scared, and so it worked. And I remember there were a lot of conversations about like, yeah, but that's just like what's going to happen. Like, they're going to do it anyway. And I'd be like, well, yeah, that's fair. And also, you can either just accept it, or you can come to the meeting and maybe we can do something about it. And so, um, yeah, it was tough until we were just talking about how groups always bad, until somebody kept coming and just like getting violent at our meetings. And so I had to stop. But we did get the rent relief, and a lot of the residents there benefit. I made sure that was why I kept going to those meetings. Like, you better go to Soapworks and Town Center first with this policy. Um, and so we did get that support for a lot of people. But ultimately, it's 8 years later now, and Graham Weston, the billionaire, bought it a couple years ago, and he's demolishing it all for luxury hotels, apartments, his
More of
minor
those.
league baseball stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
downtown has the residents of San Antonio have definitely lost downtown San Antonio to the tourists and to the tourism industry. Um, there's just so much money getting dumped into that, and you're talking about billionaires coming in and just buying up all these properties. I know um the Institute of Texas, I forget what it was called, Institute of Texas
Mhm.
Cultures, the from UTSA, that got demolished, and that wasn't even given any or hardly any input. To the point to where they're like doing stuff, and it's like that same thing how you were saying earlier. It's like, well, they're already doing it, might as well just let them do it. Like they had
Mhm.
stopped the project almost halfway through, and I think to your point, when people get together and organize and talk about at least one thing that they can all get in and focus on that, people can actually make a difference when they're not stepping on each other's toes. Absolutely.
I think y'all are a lot more blessed. Like, I know it's hard for you, Maureen, but you're very, very blessed to live in a city that is so there's so many people that are affected in one spot. I don't have
Mhm.
that. I live in a city, but like kind of outside of a small, very, very small city. I live in Amarillo. Um, and a lot of it is just very rural. And so those people just mind their business and I don't care about anything. I don't want to be involved in anything. So it's really hard to get people to mobilize and do the things.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that because there's 3 rural counties in the district that I'm running for, and yeah, I'm in the city, and so it's like how to even outreach and then activate people there
Yeah.
to participate too is just something that I need to consider, and especially if I win. I think that is just so cool though that there are 3 rural counties in this district because it to me feels like there's just so many like different resources, and I'm like, what can we create
Mhm.
with that, right? Texas is so abundant um, uh, in land specifically. I'm thinking because like agricultural area, I'm like, I wonder how do we like decentralize food
Hmm.
and make it more localized. I'm just throwing out my thoughts right now. I don't have answers to them
I
yet.
think I think that that has a lot to do with the corporate subsidies. Y- y- when you talk about bailouts, and especially with like agriculture and the farms, we're not really bailing out the farmers themselves. Like we're not bailing out, the people who are putting in the work. We're bailing out the banks that that have the loans uh, uh, farmers and ranchers. One of your philosophies is decentralized power and individual autonomy, and I would say that most people want that. What does that look like to you in practice?
In practice, decentralized power, man, I feel like first and foremost, it comes down to just like every single day and how I just approach every interaction, is seeing everybody with like just totally equal lens, as in like their participation and their insight and their life experience, what they have to contribute is like equally valuable. And I feel very authentic about that. Um, in having respect for everybody's experience and perspective. And so, how to like come about these conversations in a way that 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 makes people feel like they want to be heard, that makes people feel like they belong and can participate, because the only way that we can decentralize power, I always see it like just like energetically, right? Like power being so centralized that nobody really has access to it. It's a very firm hierarchy. And so how do we like distribute that outward? We need people who are ready to have that power. Um, and so with that comes the autonomy. With autonomy comes responsibility. And so it's like, how do we get the populace overall, all of these communities and individuals then prepared to be able to receive power and to do something with it? And so how to get along with each other as well. Does that, like, I see it from a very like social lens, I guess, and relational lens of how do we get along with each other to be able to, activate power and be able to receive it as we're sort of like bursting the the power sources right now. As they crumble, we got to burst them more, but we got to be ready to receive it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably something that's just always been a thing. It's the human, the human way to be selfish. Like you just can't. We talk to a lot of people, or I have talked to a lot of people that want socialism, that are very, Democrats traditionally. Or I am, for everybody that is watching, everybody already knows this. I'm a Republican. I am not a Democrat. Um, but traditionally, a lot of Democrats would prefer socialism, and to me, socialism is one small sliver away from communism because of that. It's not that socialism is not a great idea. I think socialism would be an amazing idea if it worked, right? But we have people that are just selfish. And once somebody becomes selfish and that becomes a problem and an issue, then it's like somebody's going to have to disperse this. Well, once we have that disbursement, that's communism, right? Once we have our government saying, you only get this and you only get this and you get this and you only get this, right? That's communism. And so we can't have the things that we want all the time because of that. You know what I mean? And it's humanity. How do you make humans not selfish? How do you make people just be happy with what they have? It's a very
Mm-hmm.
hard problem to solve, for sure.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it goes to like colonial frameworks.
Yeah. But even probably
Um,
before that, medieval
mhm.
would probably prove that too. Even biblical would prove that.
I was just thinking that in my head. I'm like, yeah, it goes back to, I mean, yeah, 2000 years ago. That's what Jesus was literally fighting. Was the colonization of Palestine by the Romans. His entire freaking ministry was really a radical organizing effort to
against the
get the people to
state,
fight back.
against the corrupt state, against the corrupt
Mm-hmm.
state, and now people are just like worshiping it. Like that's what I don't understand. I guess we could get into that. I don't understand this whole Christian nationalism movement that's been like now we're seeing it here in Texas with the TPUSA program that they want to put in schools and stuff like that. And to me, I think of that, I think of Hitler Youth automatically, because like when you have a political ideology that is just forcing their beliefs on these children, that's the same thing that they're trying to do with the Bible, but we're trying to separate church and state at the same time too. So it's like, where do we even start? I guess it
We
to
start
begin
with
with
a
anyway. Was that?
that wasn't my question to answer. That was
No.
Marin's
Go
question.
ahead. I want to hear.
Well,
I
we
want to
start with
hear.
the Constitution.
Yeah.
That's where we start, right back where we started in the very beginning. That's why we have the separation of church and state. That's why the First Amendment of the Constitution says that, we can't make a national religion. That's everybody has the freedom of their own religion because we've already been here. We've already tried this, been there, done that. So you stick with when we're talking about laws, you talk about laws. When you're talking about morality, you talk about morality. They're not the same thing. Your morality, for me, your morality guides your decisions, but it doesn't make my morality doesn't judge your rights or doesn't get to put off on your rights.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, you brought something up for me with the separation of state and religion because I was just recently, well, something came out. It was something about Israel and ICE maybe. And I read a press release from an Israeli organization in Washington, D.C. And at the end of it, it said something support for the Jewish state, the Jewish religion and a Jewish state of Israel. And I was like, wait, like it's so explicit that they tied their state to the religion, and we as Americans who believe in the separation of those two are like at their beck and call for whatever they need. It was just a weird thing to see how they've normalized that for themselves and for Christian fundamentalists too.
yeah, I mean, I personally think there's probably that there is a separation between a Christian and a nationalist, but I do understand the concept of Christian nationalism being the thing, the directive. Um, I just don't think they're the same thing.
Yeah, they're definitely not. They're definitely not. And I think that that's been lost. And I don't even know how you would get that back um at this point without just dismantling everything. Without this dismantling everything. Speaking of um the separation of church and state, you're running without PAC money and corporate PAC money. There's a particular PAC out there. I don't even it's not even really a PAC. Talking about IPAC. Um, uh, how do you feel about corporate money and I guess foreign PACs? Um, I guess meddling in our political system.
It burns me to my soul because it's just the obvious most corrupt part of our politics. And if those things didn't exist, then we could actually have more participatory democracy where people feel like they have a voice. And I didn't, I'm just so clueless as a politician, I guess, because I'm not a natural politician, I'm like an activist first, I guess. But somebody showed me recently another politician's, all of their finance campaign reports, and all the corporations, it was like every corporation in Texas had donated thousands of dollars at a time, and I was just like mind blown because I didn't even realize that to the extent of how much our politicians were bought. And this was a, like, you know, a liberal politician. I guess I need to look at all of them, but it just really puts into perspective, like, obviously who you work for, which is not the people. They give you
Mm-hmm.
that money so that you vote for them. And some of them, it was so pathetic, right? Because it would be like this huge multi-billion-dollar corporation and they gave you $1,000. I'm like, was it worth selling your soul to them for $1,000? Like,
Good
that's sad.
out, man.
Yeah,
And
so
a lot of these, I mean, all of these donations are public records, and you could easily go in and see who's donating what, how much they're getting. And if you look at somebody who's getting a massive amount of uh, donations and stuff like that, you have to ask yourself, okay, they're getting paid for something. What are they getting paid for in return? And I don't think enough people ask themselves that question. Like, who do these politicians really work for? Because I think if if you're voting for the person who makes the most money in a campaign, you're probably not voting for the right person. I wouldn't think so.
So yeah, how would you solve that problem? Like, how do you keep integrity in a system that is blatantly rewarding compromise?
I like almost feel like this would make me unelectable to the standard like data and statistics for how you get elected. Um, but it would be really to just like to maintain my integrity, to not work with people that I know are untrustworthy or accept resources from people that I know expect transactions. I How have I done that in the past? I'm really good at like not agreeing with somebody and not even liking somebody and still just like working for the agenda that we
Mm.
share with each other, right? Like politics, I think people like CDC as like you build friendships or something, or I'm not working with that person. It's like sometimes you have to work with people that you hate. That's just
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
They're coworkers.
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
So if you have an agenda together that makes sense for your constituents, then it's like just sit at the table and get it done. Ideally with the constituents, as much input from them as possible or as much participation. Yeah, I think it's just about, yeah, knowing what my values are and making sure that all of my actions are based upon that, regardless of kind of what other people tell me to do. I'm pretty stubborn. If somebody tries to tell me to be something, I'm not. I don't be like it's repulse
Yeah.
by it. So
Um, that's I can't remember what you had just said something and I was fixing to say something about it. But basically, so would you be pro overturning like Citizens United to prevent that?
definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I can't say that it's like what I'm going to go in and lead with, but any way that I can, yeah, support how that's going on inside of there, I will be.
What would you go in and lead with?
Getting rid of ICE, abolishing DHS immediately. There's no point, there's no reason for it. It's crazy that anybody thinks that we need a domestic military to address immigration. It's that's not public safety. And I mean, I've been thinking about $75 billion that went into DHS last year for ICE. Do you know what that could do if we put it into like emergency services, into mental health resources? That's
Mhm.
public safety. Creating
Absolutely.
a domestic military that is on our streets, just arresting whoever for quotas, for
Terrorizing
profit
people.
shareholders. Terrorization, it is domestic terrorization. And so that is the number one thing that I'm like, like, not even just that we need to get rid of, but like everybody needs to realize that that was a military to be used against you one day.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's what it was that I was going to say, because you had said something about sorry, you had said something about people having to work across the aisle, and we have seen. I truly believe that we are the most separated that we have ever been politically, as far as left versus right. And I don't that we're so separated that it's not even two groups anymore. It's an entire spectrum of people, because we just disagree so much. We disagree with our own parties. We disagree, you know what I mean? We disagree across the aisle. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that these people in Washington, this is not the same game that they're playing. They're both playing a totally different game. They're playing chess, we're playing checkers. And that working across the aisle, like, you have to do that. You have to do that as an adult. You have to do that in a job. You have to do it in Washington, right? Regardless of if you think they're a good person or not. But the reality here is that those people are not real. What you're seeing, what we see on the news every day, that is not real. This is totally not real. None of it. On both sides, none of it is real. They just use those tactics to control us. I truly believe that. I don't know if you really believe that or not, but that's what I was, when you had said that about people, working across the aisle, I was like, these people don't even realize that these people there is no aisle. There is no aisle. They're all working together. They're all accepting the same money. They're doing the same thing.
They're robots.
Yeah. I mean, if it were true, we've had two administrations let's just take the past 4 administrations. You've had 2 Republican, 2 Democrat. Nothing's gotten done.
Yeah.
Nothing has gotten done. Life has not gotten any better. It's gotten worse.
And the debt and the national
or-
debt just keeps rising and rising and rising. That thing is not going backwards anytime soon. There's just so much money just getting thrown around or just looted from our treasury.
And is it the administrations? Is it because these people have been in those seats forever? Forever. Half of them are like, can't even speak when you're talking to them. Some of them are freezing. Some of them are going into homes for 6 months and nobody's saying anything about it. Like, they're aging out, right? And how it is?
How are we allowing it?
Left or right? It
Uh,
has nothing to do with left or right.
as far as abolishing ICE, how would we shift? How would we shift into, I guess, like what it is now to, I guess, what the solution would be as far as immigration.
Well, I think there's a few things to that. ICE, I just don't think that needs to exist. I think literally we could end it tomorrow and be fine as far as public. We'd be better. We'd be better off with public safety if ICE was eliminated tomorrow. With DHS, with its goal being of like homeland security, the reason I'm like nervous about like continuing to allow DHS is because I think they'll just find another way to create another domestic military with it. And so I think that it should be dismantled. And I don't have an exact, I'm not like an expert in immigration policy. In fact, I don't think we've ever figured out immigration policy. And I think that's purposeful, because then the government and all of the private actors gets to continue what the most profitable industries in the entire world, which is drug and weapon and human trafficking, right? Like, if they wanted to stop trafficking, they could look at the technology that we have nowadays. So I don't think that they want to stop trafficking. So that would need to be addressed just like within itself. And then as far as creating an immigration process, I think that we would just have to kind of have that participatory, get all the stakeholders together to really like figure it out and make it meaningful and keep the people who want profit off of it out of it. I think about like as far as I'm aware, most all of my ancestors came through in Ellis Island or whatever was there before Ellis Island. And I've gone through a lot of their immigration paperwork, and it was like very similar to here, where you would come through, get sort of a case, and then it would take maybe like 5 years until it was finalized, as long as you went through that whole process, which is what we have immigrants doing today. But what like what's the difference, right? Those were white Europeans coming over, and this is indigenous people here in South Texas specifically. And so that, yeah, it goes back to the trafficking and the nonstop trafficking of indigenous people. And so, yeah, it would have to be multifaceted, right? There's a lot of moving parts to it. But as far as ICE goes, I think that can literally just be completely eradicated tomorrow, and we would be better off public safety wise.
Yeah, for
Speaking
sure. I believe so
of,
also.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Um, I guess switching gears here. You've been very direct about cannabis, and how it should be a plant that everybody should grow. For those of people who don't know about the show, Chastity and I and the Grassroots Resistance Collective met around um the cannabis issue at the special session here in Texas. Why do you believe cannabis criminalization is an issue for you, or is it an issue for you?
Yeah, I mean, actually, so the arrests that happened after the daily protest was that they were unlawfully searched and then seized for, I think, a vape pen. Don't hold me to that. I'm not exactly sure, but they had to spend overnight in jail for a vape pen. That's crazy to me. And that's potentially could like ruin their lives in a lot of way, or already has, based off of that experience of overnight jail. For a plant that, like, to me, actually, whenever I think about cannabis, I'm just like, why can't we just make it legal to grow? That wouldn't that I mean, you guys are much more experts on this than I am, but like if at the federal level we just allowed everybody to grow it, which is sort of common sense, wouldn't that eliminate a lot of problems, especially with, because what I see happening too is like all of the corporations profiting off of the industry and it not being the same medicine that it was before, right? And just changing it a lot. And then kind of like monopolizing it so that there's going to only be eventually, it feels like, certain corporations who have control over just like the genetics of cannabis. Is that accurate?
I don't think they can't have. I mean, you could have. You can and you can't. You can't. They could make they could make a monopoly off of, or off of like a cannabinoid or a specific formula, but like a plant itself, no, you can't patent a plant. You could patent a certain genome, I guess, but you can't make a plant reproduce in that way that it's like exact every single time. So it's not like a piece of paper that's printed. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It will evolve based off of tons of things, the air, the water, and whatever. So it won't be that same exact plant. So it's not very easy to be patented in that way, which is why we have patents. Like the government has patents on cannabis. So Epidiolex, TVEX, Marinol, those are all patented, and they're synthesized or isolates or whatever put back together, and it's all cannabis. It's literally the same thing that you're buying from a smoke shop, except for its prescription, and your insurance might cover it, maybe, I don't know. And the government's the one that gets paid for it. So yeah, I mean, but I agree with you. Yes, for sure. There are huge, massive problems with cannabis, and I say this all the time. I think hemp and cannabis is the only free market industry that we have left, and they are fighting tooth and nail to make that not be the case anymore.
That's what it seemed like the last thing that happened in Texas was about, right? Kind of taking away power from small growers or small businesses.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Just complete and total control. So that they can realize it. We can move in all these CMOs and just make everything monopolized.
what's a
By
CMO?
the bigger companies, just like like a bigger conglomerate. If we just pull them all in and make all the rules, it's the same thing that happens all over even in Congress, right? We make all of these loophole laws to benefit Walmart and Amazon. Yeah, you can pay people minimum wage, and we'll clap you and pat you on the back for hiring people that minimum wage, but they're still going to qualify for food stamps and Medicaid and Section 8, And so because you hired them and given them a full-time job where they can't work for anybody else because it takes too much time out of the week for them to have two jobs, and then we're going to pay, you can still pay them minimum wage that's not a livable wage, and we'll end up giving you a tax write-off for $2,300 for each person that you hire and keep under that table, right? Like, that's a loophole that benefits a corporation, and tons of corporations, giant corporations, benefit off of that. We've got, this is not my show, this is your show. You tell us what you think.
No, that's all very fair, and it adds context to that. That's exactly what I think my biggest concern with the whole cannabis industry is, and why I'm just like, can we just grow it? Can you just grow
It
it,
seems so
everybody?
simple, right? And it would be.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
kids don't want to grow a plant.
Right?
No,
That's so true.
they can't even keep a dog alive without you telling them. They can't wash their own laundry. Like, they're not going to grow a plant, I promise you.
Yeah, and if they did, that's actually, I'm impressed that they
Yeah,
went to those lengths to learn to grow a plant. That's actually valuable life skills, honestly.
it is a valuable life.
Know how to grow plants.
They can't even pay attention long enough to watch a whole TikTok. So I doubt.
You know, there's a couple of big issues in Texas that I feel that are either approaching or already here, and that would be um, the data centers and our water policy, our
Mm.
water issues. I know here around San Antonio we have there's a there's some projects being talked about. I just wanted to hear some of your thoughts on that.
Man, I feel like I would fight to the end of the earth against a data center happening in District 35 if I was the Congress member. I feel like I would do everything that I could to organize the communities to have as much power as they can and resources and access to information and knowledge of the systems that they have to navigate to fight in order to fight that off, because we don't have water. We don't have water. We don't have any water.
I know.
The water is life. Literally, life was created and started inside of water. That's like kind of the most basic thing that we need and we're made up of. And so, yeah, that's I'm just so anti data centers in Texas. That pisses me off so much too, to think about how our Republican leaders in Texas are just selling it away. And I mean specifically like Greg Abbott, are allowing corporations to come in and just abuse the hell out of our land and our water infrastructure for corporate profits. I saw a video a couple of weeks ago of what's one of the Trumps? Is it Donnie? Is there a Don
There's a
Jr.?
Don Junior, yeah. There's a Don
Maybe it was
Junior,
him or
Eric.
Eric. Maybe it was Eric
Eric.
Trump. Actually, he has data centers in Texas. About my data center in Texas. It's like they're in Texas because we're literally selling them off our lands and water at the expense of our residents. Like, I just imagine the future, right? My kids' future, my grandkids' future, and it's just like, this is so unacceptable and it needs to stop immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that I mean, if you were in office, do you have a solution for that at all other than mobilizing your constituents?
As
Like,
far as like policy wise of stopping them from being able to come into Texas, no, I
yeah,
don't have any like policy legislation, because at the federal level, I mean, I don't know, I'd have to see. Do you, because I mean, it would be ultimately a Texas state decision. I know that there's ways to like leverage federal money over state decisions, and
I mean, I guess it is a federal, or it is a state issue, but I think that you could fight it constitutionally. I
that's
mean,
fair, yeah.
Especially yeah, especially if you take like the privacy angle
mhm.
with these data centers too, because that's like one of the things that a lot of people are pushing is security, um, and specifically from China. Everything is China now. We gotta be China with all our data centers, and to me, it's just obviously that it's obvious that people are having the wool pulled over their eyes because it's not about that. It's about money. It's about these contracts. Because there's no public input with a lot of these data centers. They just pop up all of a sudden. You'll go down I-35 one year and see nothing but planes, and then the next year for summer there's boom a big data center there, and you don't even you
Hmm.
don't even hear anything about it. It's just everything. There's just a lot of backdoor deals that I think that I think need to get addressed also. Um, One thing that I think might contribute to that is term limits. How do you feel about term limits when it comes to members of Congress?
Yeah, I think that I'm totally on board with term limits. Um, yeah, that's it. I would definitely, if that came to me, I would sign it off.
So one of the things that you were talking about was the land, the Texas land specifically. So I think one of the bigger problems that we, or not bigger problems, but one of the biggest problems that we have is the land value adjustments. So inflation, or well, inflation currently, since we just heard Trump come back and say, first we heard we're gonna make houses cheaper so that people can buy them. But then we heard, no, we're going to keep them higher for the people that already own them.
Mm,
And to me, I know a lot of people, that support Trump and those policies that are Republicans are like, yeah, I want to keep the value of my house. But what I actually heard was, yes, your value on your house is going to inflate. It's going to go higher. And with that comes we're going to have escrow prices go, or your escrow is going to end up going up. So your monthly payment to your mortgage goes up, and we're going to price people out of these houses. And then that's going to lead to homelessness for a lot of people that are currently housed. And one of your things is a kind of falling into that, right? With the land value and homelessness. So can you tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on that?
Yes, this was the number one reason I ran for city council. I've been trying to explain this for so many years, and it's so shocking how difficult it is for people to comprehend because they're so wrapped up in the supply and demand. It's all just supply and demand. That's all it is supply and
Yeah.
demand. And that's just the constant parroting narrative. And it's that is the most Econ 101 understanding of
Yeah.
how housing works. The supply, it's so many different things. Ultimately, it's them trying to inflate the land value because that makes their portfolios inflated and they appear richer in value in this invisible money economy, right? Where it's just numbers behind a screen. They're just making the land bigger so that their portfolios are bigger. And so them controlling all of the development, especially through the high density development. I really want to emphasize terrible quality, worst quality. I feel like it's since the 90s. You guys let me know if this sounds accurate, where quality of housing materials just went down
hmm
Yeah.
completely. They're building these those communities of cookie cutter homes all over the place that are just falling apart, completely falling apart
Yeah.
in a couple years. And so it's really trapping people inside of what once was a good investment, having a home. Now it's going to trap you into something that's you're not going to be able to afford to upkeep. And then as the land value goes up, that's what goes up first. The property value increases, which is what the appraisal is based on. So your property taxes and rents increase based off of all of this superficial inflation of the land value. And so prices people out or they can't pay their mortgages. Man, there's so many families who own their homes straight out in San Antonio, and they can't afford the property taxes that have
For
gone up,
sure,
and they can't afford to fix the house either.
for sure.
And so they're forced to just lose them generational homes, and it's so It's so just dismissive of people's real life experiences of what displacement does to a family generationally, to their mental health, to their financial health. And that's never considered, and it's only seen as a good thing that there's more development. Like that's how the city and the government measures success, economic success for
We
the
just need
city
more houses. Yeah.
is more development, higher supply. We just need more high supply. And then the affordable housing. That's like another component of it where we subsidize affordable housing. I even hear just like really well-intentioned people like, oh, well, we can put money into affordable housing. And it's like, man, those are built to, again, just benefit the investors. They don't have to pay taxes for sometimes 70 years, and they make 20 out of 200 apartment units slightly
Mm,
subsidized, and they get paid for it by the government. They get paid for it by the government. They don't have to pay any saws or utilities when they're developing. Um, and then there's like 10, and then a lot of them aren't really overseen. And so they're not even giving out affordable units, or they're just like getting them and then evicting them to like kind of keep on. It's all so messy, and housing is like when I was trying to put my platform together for housing, even though that's like my expertise, I've been studying this for like 10 years now. It's still just it's so complex how to bring it all together. And so I guess ultimately it's how do we continue to push out the investors and the profit shareholders and give community back access to resources.
So
um,
why is the direct engagement with those unhoused communities so important?
Yeah, because man, if people talk to homeless people, you would hear stories that you would never ever believe are actually true, and they don't get believed because they are, at the like lowest
mhm.
totem of our society. And so, yeah, I think that's why I also just get so passionate about this participatory stuff, because it's like, how do we get people to respect their experience and hear them? And so I don't know, just with the homeless one's hard too, because they don't trust, they're not going to trust anybody who comes up trying to support them, and a lot of times feel exploited, providing a testimony or taking any resources at all. Um, and a lot of the resources for the homeless are not that good. That's too why we need to talk to them, because,
Mhm.
we don't know how much the shelters are helping or not helping. Maybe they are, maybe not, or it's just helpful to know those experiences. So yeah, just one of the like things that I would love to do is like just go out and just collect stories and create like a database, right? Where we can like sort of evaluate all of them and figure out what are the solutions. And yeah, how did they get there too? And what's keeping them there? So it's another really complex one that needs like
For
various
sure, it's
angles.
multifaceted, absolutely.
Mhm.
I think homelessness is probably like one of the more complicated issues, at least here in America, because you because it like it it overlaps with the prison industrial complex, ad- addiction and alcohol abuse and mental health. There's just so many different factors involved, and it's almost like there's I mean, it's not almost like there isn't enough resources out there to actually help people. There's a lot of resources out there to lock people up. There's a lot of resources available that will find a person who was already living on the streets. um yeah, for sure. That's something that I think, no matter what side of the aisle you stand on, I think it has to be really looked at through the lens of compassion. Because I mean, imagine sleeping on a. I know a lot of people have done it, but imagine just living on the freaking streets. That's absolutely insane. Especially with the last cold snap that we had here in Texas. I mean, I haven't heard of any deaths, but I know last year here in San Antonio, there was a homeless person that I think froze. I think it was one. I don't know if there's more than that, but yeah, that's something for sure that um, is kind of uh that's where I like to focus also. Like my passion is helping out those who like don't get to speak and you don't really hear them either. Um because they're not like they're not given a voice. Um and those stories I think need to be shared as well. Sorry, I'm going off on that, but
No, you're fine. I did want to say too with that though is that and I guess too as a mental health licensed mental health professional, that when you said, can you imagine living on the streets? And it's like, no, I can't. And I've seen other people who have, and it's like you can see what it does psychologically, even just 1 or 2 or 3 nights
hmm
on the streets, because you can't sleep because anybody could come get you at any moment. And so it's like it's not safe to fall asleep
hmm
on the streets. And that like already messes with your mind. And then, if you're prone towards mental health problems, and it just like really starts perpetuating itself. And then that's also why they don't get listened to, because it's just seen as like, oh, just a crazy person. That's why Trump wants to create more mental health institutions as well. Well, I think for homeless for one, but also to, especially for women, loud women, historically, like we love to put hysterical women who are just actually talking about injustices into the mental institutions too.
I just saw a
Let's
clip today. I just saw a clip today. I don't know. There was I forgot the anchor's name from CNN. I forget her name, but he just like berated her today in the Oval Office, and I don't know. Did you have a question about that, Chastity?
Well, I just kind of wanted to talk about because that's one of your platforms, right? Is women's autonomy and human rights. And so um, that is a perfect example of today where women are not allowed to have the same job as a man, right? And do the same thing. There's a whole White House, a whole group of White House press, and some of them are men and some of them are women. I've not ever seen Donald Trump attack a man. I have seen
Mm.
him attack women multiple times, and that is one of those things. Is that obviously is an issue. As a woman, I understand that's an issue, right? Even as a Republican woman, I understand that I am seen as less than in some people's perspective. Um, so tell me why that's so. I just kind of wanted to know why it's such a passionate topic for you, obviously because you're a woman, but other reasons.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I have a couple thoughts in my head. One is mothers. I think that is first and foremost. It's my perspective as a family therapist. In my experience, in my clinical experience, I have come to decide and realize that I feel without a doubt the biggest problem in our society is the way that we treat mothers. Um, uh, you know, Women are very vulnerable. Mothers are even more vulnerable, and then single mothers are even more vulnerable than that. And it's just so almost every person with kind of mental health issues I've found typically has just like issues with their mom. And so a lot of like my work is kind of like how to recognize the traumas that mom comes from, um, and have compassion for that while also acknowledging all of the harms caused. But the best way to traumatize a person, the best way that a government can or any system can traumatize a person is through their family. That's the first way that we get traumatized, right? And so that's why, to me, it's so important to have this systemic cultural shift in how we see women and mothers in particular, and especially their labor.
Unpaid labor.
Unpaid labor. This world runs on unpaid women's labor that gets zero, not just even appreciation, but acknowledgement, as if it doesn't exist. And that is, I mean, you can talk to any mom at all, and they will tell you that is the most I was about to curse, like, but yeah, the most fucking frustrating possible thing to go through is being not acknowledged for your labor. And it's almost all of it. It's almost everything we do all day long. And it's like, when you get gratitude, it's like, you don't mind doing it. When people are like, hey, I see that. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's like, okay, I'm happy. I'm fine giving that. But when it just goes completely ignored and like just pretended like it doesn't exist, and then even more is expected upon you, it's just so insulting, demeaning, and energy consuming. Imagine if women could have all of that energy be going into saving the world. It would change, our whole world would change. And so if we give that respect to women, and then I guess like policy wise, so that's like that social relational part, but policy wise, you know, I would totally support all policies that would help provide women more economic opportunities, specifically because we do live in a society where money is your power. And that's how we continue to keep women down, is through generational trauma and through money, and like not having access to a good workforce environment or education. And so yeah, that's how I approach the gender thing. I know that's kind of like, it's always really heavy. That's like, it really is, I think, the heaviest thing ever. And I hate to like be so kind of downer about it, because it's hard to hear that, you know, everybody came from a mom.
Mhm.
And so like, you know, it is kind of, it's hard to sort of reckon with, but it's also, I think what I've seen also the most powerful healing experience for everybody too, is to, you know, however you decide to continue a relationship with a mom figure is totally fine, but like also acknowledging that they came from just generations. I mean, in the 1500s, and that wasn't that long ago, what, 500 years ago, they had like metal contraptions that went over women's faces so that they couldn't talk if they were a talker. It's like, that's such insane trauma that was the beginning of capitalism too. Capitalism in the sense of oppressing people economically to such a like large degree violently. And so yeah, I think that serving us all just like mentally and emotionally giving women more respect around us. And I could go on with that too, because I'm raising a son. I have a teenage son. And so I'm also realizing too how I know I'm kind of ranting on and now, but like this is like a big thing too, is like, how do we get men to respect women when they don't know even that they're doing it, because they've watched people disrespect their mom and their sisters their entire life. And it's just sort of natural and normal. And I see my son, he's a huge sweetheart. He's a wonderful kid, but he does things that I'm just like, you can't talk to me like that. But like, I see where it comes from in his world. Like, it's not like he's doing anything to be harmful, but it's just natural because we live in such a toxic patriarchal world. And I want to emphasize toxic because I do believe that there could be healthy patriarchy, because I want to believe that my son, you know, could be like a healthy man. I support it, you know, safe man for the world one day. Just like there's healthy and toxic matriarchy too, right? Like there's like good woman leadership and really toxic woman leadership. And so, but we live in a toxic patriarchal society at this point in time. And so how do we like, you know, target that, get men to more authentically respect women and see sort of the micro ways.
And even women
Totally.
are victims of that as well. I mean,
Totally.
shouldn't be doing that job. You know what I mean? Just if she wants to do the job, she's a human being and can do the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's everywhere, and it's ingrained in us from very, very young, in things that we don't even realize.
Yeah, that's actually, I'll just go on one more point with that. That's there's a mother wound that most women inherit, which was a mom who you know, she played by the rules and that was safe for her. And so when she like tries to get her daughter to like play by the rules, to like, don't do that, you can't dress like that, you can't get that work. Yeah, it's like it's toxic, but it's also a form of protection, because it's like, I know what's going to happen to you if you do speak up, right? You're going to get a freaking medal put on your head, symbolically. And so
Yeah, super scary, super scary. Okay, so there's something that we do with every episode where we have you answer the question that was left for you from the last person and ask you to leave a question for the next person.
Okay.
So your question, where was it? Was left for you from Paul Villafranco, our last guest, and he wanted to know what feeds your soul. And I feel like you'll have a really good answer for this.
Oh man, I'm like, I don't even know. Singing, dancing, good food, walking. I love walks. The river walk. I could walk on the river walk every single day. It's so gorgeous. I feel like those are the top things. Getting to do those things with my kids and them enjoying it definitely brings me. Oh, and sorry, this is so random, but like my favorite thing that feeds my soul is like when my kids are sleeping. You can see, and I'm sure all kids are like this, their face looks like it did when they were a baby. I don't know how to explain it. Like it's just like when they were a baby sleeping, that's what now when they're older, their face still looks like that. And I just like, I could just stare at it and be like, oh, like it's so sweet. That feeds my soul. And community, building community, especially like the participatory community events that I do. After that, I feel so just like fulfilled and get to like, you can't measure impact in those ways, but sort of like seeing how influence does happen and does spread, and that you have power, man. When people, sorry, that's one more thing. When people discover their voice, that's also feeds my soul. When they when you see them go from like being scared or like not sure and then like finding that power in their voice, that's another thing that I love.
I love
Off the
that.
top of my head.
I love that. I love that part about San Antonio because I feel that so much. Like I can't see myself living anywhere else really, unless I could take all of like everything that San Antonio has that I love with me, like from the missions to the Riverwalk. There's so much like small little things that I feel like so many people that are from San Antonio don't even know about. There's just so much, but I don't know. I That was a great answer. But so what's your question for the next guest?
I feel like my instinct, and yeah, that's what I want to say, is like, how do you create community power?
Okay.
Yeah, I like that question.
Okay, got it. Well,
We both write this down, and every episode we all write it down. And then next episode or the next time, I'll be making a run sheet and I'm going to be calling them, hey, do you guys remember what the question was? And nobody ever has it.
you always have to go back and watch it.
Watch the episode.
Oh, really? Well, it's funny. Yeah, I would do the same thing.
Okay,
And we
well,
all,
uh, we were with Maureen Galindo. She is running for Congress in Texas District 35. Miss Maureen, where can people find you?
Okay, I'm most active, I guess, on Instagram. That seems to be the best place. TikTok, Facebook, don't go on Facebook is so weird. Every single time I post about ice, I get tagged with bots.
It's
Real and
crazy.
human bots.
It's
Only
crazy.
about ice. So I'm
Yeah.
like, you guys think that you're being smooth here? Like this is just natural. Um, So don't go on Facebook, but I keep posting on there anyway. TikTok, Instagram, Threads, my website.
And that's
Yeah.
Maureen for U.S. Congress on all of them.
MaureenForUSCongress.com, and I think just Maureen for Congress on the other two, on Instagram and TikTok.
do you have any messages, anything you want to say to the rest of your constituents?
Man, power to the people. And I'm not just saying that. I don't just say those things, for inspiration. I really mean it. I really believe it, that we can do it. I have to believe it because this is the future that we're fighting for. So yes, all power to the people.
I love that.
Well, good luck to you. When you make it, I can do another episode with us.
Yes, definitely. Thank you guys. I'm so appreciative.
Love it.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. Thank you. I don't know if we have a guest next week, but stay tuned. We'll see you.